Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers have their first regulation loss of the season, and it goes against the Florida Panthers. So the defending Stanley Cup champions come into Madison Square Garden and take care of the Rangers. And on the one hand, yes, the Rangers were 5-0-1, and so you don't want to make too big of a deal about a game in October. However, if not now, then when? Right? Because, like, for example, the Rangers' next game is against the Ducks. Now, obviously, if they lose that game, like that is, a definite talking point. But chances are they'll, kind of find their footing and maybe not even play their best hockey and find a way to win. This Panther game is important because that is the team that the Rangers are trying to catch, if you will, in the sense that the Panthers knocked out the Rangers last year in the Eastern Conference Final and was clearly the better team on their way to winning the Stanley Cup. What was a kind of a bad recipe or a bad combination is the fact that the Panthers were coming off of a 5-1 loss against the Minnesota Wild, whereas the Rangers are on a winning streak and had 11 out of a possible 12 points on the season. What was it? Rangers were on, I guess it was maybe a 4-game winning streak, probably. And so you add all that up, and it wasn't going to be great. Now, Alex Barkov was not in the Panther lineup, which you can't ignore that. Very good goaltending on both sides. I mean, Sergei Bobrovsky was the real deal. I mean, made some really good saves. Ones that I feel like I haven't seen in other games this year, opposing goalies against the Rangers. Bobrovsky was up to the task. On the flip side, Igor Shesterkin was really good. This game could have been more than 3-1 on both ends of the spectrum, but really I would say more so Igor made a lot of saves to keep the Rangers in it. Now, the second goal by Carter Verhaeghe, that's probably one that he'd want to have back. I mean, it was a good shot by Verhaeghe, but yet it was definitely stoppable. That said, Igor was the Rangers' best player on the night, and that's kind of what we saw in the Panthers series. So definitely disappointing. And Laviolette wasn't afraid of expressing that. A lot of the times he'll kind of downplay. He didn't here. He was, severely disappointed with the effort, and it just wasn't good enough on all facets. Again, besides the goaltending, just giving up way too many opportunities, ineffectiveness offensively. The power play, not good at all. What was the Rangers? 0 for 3 on the power play? 0 for 4, actually. That was a problem in the series against the Panthers last year. So that to me is the biggest concern, is that if the Rangers play Florida again, you can't tell me that you feel confident. You just can't. And it's not to say that, okay, the Rangers, obviously, so it's 2 more games in the regular season, both in Florida. Actually, this is actually the 1 game in MSG this year. 2 games in Florida, December 30th and April 14th. Yeah, could the Rangers win those games? Certainly. But in the 9 games played last year, Rangers versus the Florida Panthers, not one. Rangers did not win 1 game in regulation in any of those 9 games. The 3 wins that they had, regular season and postseason combined, one was in the shootout in the regular season, then you had 2 overtime wins in games 2 and 3. So, look, it's a bad matchup for the Rangers, and it's a bad matchup for most teams. And is this Panther team necessarily as good as the one from last year? Honestly, probably not. The roster, they did lose some key pieces, but the structure of the team and the overall philosophy and the way they play is not good for this Ranger team that loves to go east-west, loves to play fancy hockey. That's just not going to get it done. And they pressure the fuck out of you. And on the power play, Rangers don't have time to do anything. And that hurts as well. Defensively, Rangers don't have the best puck-moving defenseman, that's for sure, and that's a problem as well. Also, some of the forward lines were juggled a little bit, and I wouldn't expect to see that again next game. They'll go back to the originals, but they moved Panarin on the Zibanejad-Carter line, and then they moved Will Cooley to play with Panarin and Trocheck, and then Raleigh Smith was with Hedl and Kakko. So let's discuss some roster things first, and first more on the transaction side, and then kind of just on player performance. And then we'll, kind of go into the game, which really shouldn't be too long, honestly. There's pretty cut and dry as far as what happened. So a couple of things. It was announced, well, not announced, but it was came out that Chad Rueda was placed on waivers earlier in the day. Now, We'll find out tomorrow whether he's going to be claimed by a team or sent down to Hartford. It could go either way, I guess. Trevor Riedl's not a bad depth defenseman, but yet I don't know. My hunch. This is a tough one to call because you can never have enough defensemen. I don't know. I guess my gut tells me that he's sent down, like that he does clear waivers. But if he is claimed, I might make an episode on it and just kind of discuss the state of the defense. Not that him being off it really changes it drastically, but if he's sent down, then there's really nothing to discuss, obviously, because then at that point he can just be called up, which he would be the first in line to do so. That one makes sense when you consider the fact that Victor Mancini clearly has opened up eyes to this coaching staff and this team. So that's a very good sign for him. Now, as it relates to the defense, while we're on that topic, Zach Jones was getting a healthy scratch. I don't love that. I really don't. And so now that would be that makes it 3 straight games, right? Toronto was the first game where he was scratched. Then Montreal, and now Florida. So it's 3 in a row. I don't think that's the way to go here. And I understand that right now he is the 7th defenseman. And the unfortunate part, like I've said previously, is that Mancini, if Jones comes back in and everyone's healthy, Mancini's probably the one that is the healthy scratch. I would try to keep more of an open mind. I know it's probably not going to happen, but whether that be Ryan Lindgren, who I know just came back, for the last couple of games, or Jacob Trouba. I won't even get too. I already did get a little bit specific, but the point is I really think that Jones deserves playing time, and I think that he will be back in there. But it will be interesting. But with that said, it will be interesting to see who's the scratch. If he's not back in there for the Ducks, then we are where we were last year. And what I mean by that is that Zach Jones is pretty much just automatically the 7th defenseman. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the only way he comes in is via injury. I don't think they should set that precedent. I think he deserves better than that. So that's the disappointment there. But Riedl, not being on the NHL roster anymore, it's a numbers game, and it just makes sense. And I do like the fact that they are giving Mancini an opportunity. Now, for the forwards, it was announced after the game. I've been saying that they should do this. And it was announced after the game that Matt Rempe has been sent down to Hartford. And look, what's the point of him being a healthy scratch regularly? He's a young player. He should be getting minutes down in Hartford, for the AHL club. That just makes sense. So the interesting thing, I guess, now is, I guess it does make me wonder if there will be. I got to think that there probably will be some forward call up, especially when you consider the fact that Riedl, whether he's claimed or whether he clears, I can't imagine he'll be on the roster. If he clears, I guess there's a small world where they keep him as a healthy scratch on the NHL club, but I would think that the move would be to send him down to Hartford. Either way, kind of even forgetting about that part of it, with Rempe down, they only have the minimum 12 forwards. With Jimmy Vesey, he won't be back until earliest, early November. So a few weeks away from that. So I would think that a forward would likely be called up. One that's probably more of a veteran, right? I would not. Crazier things have happened, but I wouldn't think it would be like a Brett Berard, for example, or a Brennan Othman. I think it'd be someone that's more seasoned that you can easily healthy scratch. Now, I don't want it to be this person, but a name that comes to mind is Jake Lecision, just someone a body that is there, and that's better served than Matt Rempe, who again is a young player that should be getting ice time. So that's a smart thing they did that. Now let's just discuss real quick. You know what? Actually, let's discuss the game. Let's discuss the game, and then from there, as kind of in going through it, we'll make some observations and comments. Then after, I'll get to it if somehow I didn't, discuss things. I definitely have some things in mind for sure. So, Bobrovsky versus Shesterkin was, lived up to, the billing of the two of the best goalies in the league. Sergei Bobrovsky actually gets his 400th NHL win, which, so he becomes the fastest player to ever do so. Henrik, and kind of the other unfortunate thing here is that was a record once held by Henrik Lundqvist. This was Bobrovsky. I think the stat was it was his 407th game, whereas Lundqvist reached his 400th NHL win in 427 games. So not too. It was a 20 game difference, but either way, Again, really, really brutal start for the Rangers. Anton Lundell scores 44 seconds in, his fifth goal of the season from Reinhart and Luosterainen. And Lundell, I mean, look, these are flashbacks to last year's Eastern Conference Final. I mean, Lundell had arguably one of the biggest goals in the series, the game-winning goal in Game 5. 2-2 MSG, 2-2 in the series at MSG, and that was, in the third period. That was like about midway through the third period, maybe a little bit less than that, where Lundell scores. But we'll put that in the past. This was a play where Alexis Lafreniere turns it over in the offensive zone. And then Keandre Miller and Adam Fox are both on the same side, and it leaves Lundell wide open in front. Nothing Igor could do about it. So, again, the Lafreniere turnover. And look, he is on my good list. And he, just to sneak preview, he scores the one Ranger goal. But again, as I've mentioned a lot, I think that defensively, I keep on seeing it there's things that he needs to work on for sure. And I know he has it within him to do it. And I'm glad that his offensive game is absolutely blossoming. And I think that he should really be on that number one power play unit, like over Mika Zibanejad, no doubt in my mind. But a lot of the things that I've been saying, and us Ranger fans have been saying, I mean, I don't want to group everyone together, but I think a lot of the majority, a lot of the concerns that we left with at the end of last season have kind of, the same thoughts are happening to start this season. But anyway, less on Lafreniere on that goal. It's more so a combination of Fox and Miller. I mean, I guess Fox was the one that kind of left his side, but Miller kind of needed the help because he pinched and couldn't get it. And so just a whole mess. And they didn't get and again, Trocheck and Lafreniere were not able to help with Fox being out of position on that left side. So just a bad early goal. And it doesn't get any better. At 2:42, Carter Verhaeghe scores his first goal of the season from Forsling. And this was the one that Igor would want to have back. Verhaeghe has one of the better shots in the league. What happens here is Jacob Trouba flings it around the boards. And you know what? Look, this is not his fault, but he is involved in it. Trouba around the boards. And Riley Smith is unable to retrieve it cleanly. Leads to the Panthers gaining possession. You get sort of a weak sort of stick check by Zibanejad, which, did nothing. And Verhaeghe snaps it by Shesterkin. So, again, a different type of turnover, but one where the Panthers were much hungrier than the Rangers. I mean, not only was it the systematic issues that the Rangers faced with the Panthers were hungrier. I don't think you can even question that. And so the Panthers make it 2-0 right then and there. And so not good. But I thought the best part of the Rangers game was after that through the end of the first period. And 2 minutes after that Verhaeghe goal, it's Alexis Lafreniere scoring his fourth goal of the season from Adam Fox at 4:44. This was a play where Fox wraps it around the boards. No, how does it go down? No, it's Lafreniere that actually from the point swings it around. Panarin lets it go to Fox. Fox then works his way towards the middle, makes a nice pass to Lafreniere, and Lafreniere backhanded in. So Lafreniere has been a Panther killer if you think about what happened in the Eastern Conference Final and then scoring here. So again, Lafreniere continues to produce. And it's interesting, if Panarin touches that puck, even just deflects it, he would have extended his point streak. It ends. And again, if you had to guess who it would end against, it's the Panthers that do end Artemi Panarin's season-opening 6-game point streak. Again, sometimes there's no coincidences to these things. I don't think you can chalk it up to, it just happened to be against them. No, there's a reason. So Rangers had a lot of good opportunities for the rest of the period. And in fact, Sam Reinhart hooked Braden Schneider at 15:03 to give the Rangers a power play. The Ranger power play was very ineffective. But I guess on that power play, I think was the one where Kreider gets a really good opportunity. Stopped by Bobrovsky. Vincent Trocheck at another point had a really good chance as well. But again, Bobrovsky was up to the challenge every single time. So it's 2-1, Panthers end of one. But you left that period feeling, okay, it's a matter of time before the Rangers break through. I really felt like that second half of the first, the last 15 minutes of the first period was a good – Rangers looked a lot better. But in the second period, it went back to the Panthers, and they got an early chance in that second period, which Igor was able to stop. But at 6:59, Sam Bennett scores his sixth goal of the season from Nico Mikkola and Dmitry Kulikov. It's a shot by Mikkola that's tipped in by Bennett in front, and it was really a play where Riley Smith at one point was not particularly strong on the puck, which leads to the Panthers gaining that full possession. You got Mika kind of skating around. So this gets me into some discussion points right here. And look, Riley Smith, where I thought he was so good last game, and I think his last few games really good. Not a great night for Riley Smith, but more to the point, sticking with that line, Zibanejad just does not look good. Just does not look good at all. And this is something that we saw a little bit last year, but now it just and you know what? Like his post-game comments, like, give me a break. I really just his tone. I mean, I know Mika, his tone is kind of somber, and I understand, like, it's kind of the way he is, but some of the wording, I could sense almost like, I don't know, in some ways defensiveness, and I don't want to say excuse making. It wasn't to that level, but I don't know. It rubbed. I can't quite pin it down, but it did rub me the wrong way. And I just think the battle level is just non-existent. Forgetting about a potential deterioration in speed, which I think is in play for Zibanejad, it really stands out. It really, really does. And I don't want to come on here and just shit on him. It's just what I'm seeing. He really specifically to me is standing out. And that's where, again, I say when it comes to the power play, so Zibanejad just kind of sits in that left circle just waiting for the one-timer. It's not really – you're not fooling anyone. Like it's a one-trick pony attitude that, like, honestly, I think is very easily defended. Sure, I mean, the threat exists, so it could open up some other things, but why should it be that much of a threat? But even beyond that, just even strength, and I don't know, very disappointed what I'm seeing. But he was someone that I think a lot of people weren't really feeling that much, honestly, coming into the season, leaving last. Right? I mean, and to me, I know it's only 6 games, but it looks even worse than what I can remember. Like, even, not to say that all of his games have been bad this year. I've given him some praise, on a couple of occasions, but just, this was just poor. Really, really poor. And it's like, why can't there be the possibility of not having Zibanejad with Kreider? So they make these little line juggles to the point where Panarin's with them. But like that, why? Panarin doesn't even, it's funny because I mentioned last game in passing where Zibanejad scored and it helped that he was with Panarin. I think you could argue that it would help Mika to be with Panarin. It's not really helping Panarin's game at all. Like, it's not like he is able to necessarily show off his talents as much with Zibanejad and Kreider. Like, the fit really isn't quite as good. And because I guess it leads to either Panarin or Kreider being on their off wing. I'm not sure because they are both, by trade left wingers. That's what they've been most of their career. So that's another thing that's not ideal. But the point is that Zibanejad and Kreider, that needs to be considered. I don't like how they're attached to the hip. I don't. Now, on the penalty kill, that's one thing. Very effective there. But other than that, can we at least be open to the idea that maybe it makes sense at times to not have them on the same line? And that isn't, I don't know. Maybe that's not even the answer. Maybe it wouldn't matter, but I think it's at least worth investigating. So yeah, he really stood out in a major, major way, more than anything. And really on the defensive side, like, I know Lindgren's working his way back, but I think that, like, he didn't look good at all. That pair in general in this game didn't look very good. Even though, it's funny, Miller and Fox, they were on for a couple goals against, but there was effectiveness there. Whereas the other pairs, they were just hemmed in a lot. And again, I didn't think Jacob Trouba played a good game. And so, anyway, moving forward in the game, 9:05, Carter Verhaeghe's called for goalie interference on Igor Shesterkin. Rangers don't score. Then at 14:16, Kaapo Kakko slashes Matthew Tkachuk. This is a play where Tkachuk just beat Kakko to the middle of the ice, and Kakko had to slash him to prevent a good scoring chance. Rangers kill that off. We go to the third period at 48 seconds. Kulikov high sticks Panarin. That's a big opportunity to do something early in the third. They don't on the power play. 4:33. Trouba hooks Kulikov. And so Trouba, he's pretty much good for about a penalty. It feels like good for about a penalty a game. And look, for Jacob Trouba standards, it's not as if he's been horrible these first 6 games, but I know how this goes. I know where this is going to go. And just prepare yourself, everyone. And I know I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but that's where it's like, it'll never, ever happen. But that's where, like, I want to get Zach Jones in there for some of the more established veteran players if you're going to leave Mancini in. But you and I both know that it's going to be, if Jones comes in and everyone's healthy, it'll be to give Mancini the healthy scratch and the rest. It's unfair, but that's just what it is. And look, I didn't think that Mancini was really all that good tonight either. So it's not as if, I mean, he had his struggles. So Rangers kill it off, and then at 16:57, one last gasp chance is Carter Verhaeghe cross-checking Sam Carrick. And that's kind of the funny thing, is that they rolled the 4, Laviolette rolled the 4 lines with 3 minutes left. The 4th line actually draws a penalty only for that top power play unit to really establish just about nothing. I can't even remember anything that was close. So, yeah, Panthers win it 3-1. So, look, now it's kind of back to your regularly scheduled programming, right? Where it's home against, where you're home against Anaheim, and that should work out better. Now, look, the Ducks are 3-2-1, so they're actually off to a not so bad start, but on paper, it's an extremely winnable game. I would expect Jonathan Quick to be in net. That just makes sense. But yeah, like, this is one to remember. It is. And, the Rangers don't play the Panthers for a couple more months. They really need to improve that head-to-head play. Because, look, can you get lucky and someone do your dirty work and take the Panthers out? Yeah, it's happened. Like, that's a thing. But chances are you're going to have to get through them if you want to get to the promised land. And this certainly was not encouraging at all. And you would have thought, I understand the Panthers just got killed last game and the Rangers are on a winning streak. I totally, and that just doesn't work well. That's also not an excuse. And also the Rangers should have had a little bit of extra motivation. Hey guys, this is the team that did knock you out last year. Let's maybe put our best foot forward and give it, a better effort. And just execution-wise, a little bit better. So again, it's process that wasn't great. It's effort that wasn't great. And then the results, obviously, therefore, weren't great. So Rangers lose 3-1, first regulation loss of the season, still 5-1-1, very good record, and would expect that to kind of remain to be the same for a while, as long as, the good health continues. So, and some roster changes at that. Matt Rempe sent down. We'll find out tomorrow whether what the status of Chad Ruedel is. Again, somewhat inconsequential, but they are, moving the deck around a little bit, and we'll see, where things land. But yeah, disappointing effort, and definitely a wake-up call and a reminder that the Rangers, they are not the big men on campus. It is the Florida Panthers. As long as that's the matchup, Florida gets the better of the Rangers. They do it here. They win 3-1 at Madison Square Garden.